So real quick, I wanted to give everybody another reason why protein should be your number one goal concerning your diet if you have a routine that revolves around the gym. So I was brought on to a guy named Dr. Lehman. He does a lot of research with protein, and in one of his talks, he talks about a threshold of protein you should reach at every meal in order to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, okay? Now that number varies for person to person, obviously on body weight, but in his presentation he was using 30 grams for an average person. So 30 grams of protein is what you should reach for in every meal to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, all right? Now that's important if you go to the gym because that's what's going to make you bigger, faster, stronger. You're going to gain more muscle. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at any given state, so the better you are at burning fat. All right, the list goes on and on and on. But this idea of stimulating muscle protein synthesis is also an important point to take in when you consider what works for one person and what may not work for another. So all these coaches out there that are having huge success with themselves and others their age, so we're talking low 20s, 25 and under with these teenagers as well, what works for them is definitely not going to work. What is definitely not going to be what works for a lot of other people as well, okay? So in one of Dr. Lehman's talks, he talks about how in our younger years, going up into our early 20s, a lot of our growth is driven by hormones, okay? And he goes into why this is why you can see kids in very poor third world countries still growing. So they're eating maybe 500 calories a day or even less, but they're still growing. And the reason why is because our growth up until a certain age is driven by hormones. Okay, once we cross a certain age, our growth is limited on our protein intake. Our body responds to our environment and our growth is limited based on what we intake, okay? So a lot of clients that come to me and they have said that, this is what I did when I was a teenager, this is what I did in my early 20s and it worked then. Why is it not working now? Well, that's one of your reasons why, okay? Hormones versus protein intake. Not to mention all the other things that were working really well when you were younger or as a kid. They're not with you when you get older, okay? So like case in point, I have a client, he's 220 pounds. He wants me to draw out a diet plan for him. I'm going to do that. Well, I'm also 220 pounds, but I'm a lot younger than him. So I'm definitely not going to give him what works for me. I have to take into consideration he's older. He's been living off the standard American diet for more years than I have. So his metabolism is going to be slowed down in certain areas, whereas mine is still yet to reach that point, okay? I have to take that into consideration and space out his eating accordingly and suggest some other things, supplements and enzymes and things like that in order for him to see his best results, okay? So again, touching on something I say to a lot of my clients, reach this amount of protein for every meal. And this is the reason why. Your growth, okay, if you are older than your early 20s, is going to be limited on your protein intake. And again, the other motto I say to everybody, you can only train as hard as you can recover. Okay, that's not mine, that's Charles Poliquin's, but it's very true. So your training sessions are chasing your recovery. So what you do in the gym is always going to be limited by what you do outside of the gym. If when you eat, you're not crossing that threshold into muscle protein synthesis, you are at best only preventing catabolism. You are not promoting growth, okay? So you're never going to get better than you currently are if you're not hitting that threshold at as many meals as you can per day. All right, thanks for watching. I hope that helps.